right, I'm just gonna start recording this. I got my little audio video thing set up, so that's progress. Hello, welcome to the video. I I wanted to talk about um, this idea for Open Door and the idea of doing spiritual practice as a community, especially I think it's interesting for me because I'm like, when you think of a spiritual leader, I definitely don't feel like a spiritual leader. you know, like I'm definitely um, very firmly, some dude. It's more like it's less like I am a spiritual leader and more like I just like want a spiritual community. Um, and I don't really believe in spiritual leaders, and so I'm like trying to cause one to happen. Actually, I think that it tends to be the spiritual leaders that kind of fuck up the spiritual communities. I mean, I was in India last year, and I traveled around visiting different spiritual communities, and they were great, except for the fact that the leaders were these kind of egomaniacs. Because I think that there is something about being an egomaniac um, that helps you to believe, to have the kind of self confidence that you need to have to think like, oh, all these people should like listen to me and do what I say. But yeah, so yeah, I don't know. I'm just so not that person, and so it's strange, I think, to be trying to fill that kind of a role. Um, but maybe I guess the point is that I'm not. I just want to do spiritual practice with people, and something came up recently that I think maybe illustrates the longing that I have, or like why I have the longing. Um, so it's my birthday today, and last night, a friend of mine, we were bartending together, and we're both sober. We're a couple of it's actually kind of weird how many sober bartenders I know at this point. Um, but she said, "Oh well, it's gonna be your birthday at midnight. Should we like go to Sneakers and get drunk?" And I think I don't know if she really would have did it if I had said yes. We it was like a mostly kidding kind of thing, but it was interesting because I had to think about it. Like do I want to go to Sneakers and get drunk? Kinda, you know. Especially with her, like we used to live in this house together, and we would always get drunk. We both drink like these big bottles of wine, and we would get super drunk on the porch. And it's like I don't actually regret those times. Like it's not that the reason that we did that was because we wanted to um, get to a place where we felt loose and free and expressive, and we wouldn't be ashamed to be coming from a place of love, or express our real anger, frustration, fear. There's something about the way that a lot of people are, certainly the way that I am, um, where I struggle to feel authentic and to express myself and to be seen um, in my normal headspace. It's like I'm just doing shit and surviving. And I think that part of what makes the experience so compelling of getting drunk with your friends is to like get out of this stressful way of being. And but not just stress relief. I think we always think of it as stress relief, but for me in that moment it was more I wanted catharsis. I wanted intimacy. And that was why I had to think about it like, oh, do I maybe I do. Maybe I do want to go get drunk at Sneakers. And of course, it only lasted a few seconds and I was like, remember how your life was shitty and now your life's like getting better? Um, let's not do that. And then I woke up this morning and I was like, oh, I feel good. I'm going to try to record a video and do the things that I need to do. I'm glad I'm not sick right now like I would be. But at the same time, I don't want to say that productivity and um, health. I don't know. Doing everything the best way is the most important thing to me, and that feeling and expressing and laughing and crying is not valuable. I don't think I can live without those things. And it's not like spiritual practice is the same thing. It's not getting drunk with your friends. Um, but I don't think that we should have to get drunk in order to uh, explore or like to like be in that other place, that place of uh, truth telling and freedom. You know, one of the things I got to do last year when I was having my midlife crisis, eat, pray, love, bullshit year was I hung out on this island called Kopangan, and it's in Thailand. And Kopangan is like this like serious hippie mecca kind of place where um, they like the breathwork community and like the tantra or like the neo tantra community is really strong there. And it was it was interesting to be with them because um, most of the people there were sober, or at least I mean they also have like full moon parties and stuff on this island, and people do lots of drugs. So you can get weed delivered and stuff. It's not, but the community that I was hanging out with, the breathwork tantra community, was largely sober, and they loved to party. Like we would do this thing sometimes like three times in a weekend, where we would go to an ecstatic dance. Uh, ecstatic dance is like this thing where you get together with all these people, and it starts out as like almost a meditation. Everybody sits down or lays down, and they play like these like wom wom wom, these like low tones, and they're hitting cymbals and dinging a few chimes. Someone says like an invocation to get the night started, and then like at some point, like the DJ starts to come in with the beat, and everybody kind of starts to get up and move around a little bit. But it's not like I don't know. Dancing to me in the U.S. has always been such an awkward experience. I feel like it's supposed to be like partially like a mating ritual thing, and so like that makes me feel awkward about it. And you're supposed to like look a certain way, but like in these contexts, like you weren't really supposed to look a certain way. You kind of are allowed to do whatever you want. Like you don't really have to dance with people, or if you feel like sitting down on the floor and meditating, or just like swaying your arms around and pretending to be a tree, or like whatever. It's like there's really this idea about expressing through like bodily movement, like moving this energy, And even in the moments where they play something that is a little bit, every once in a while they'll throw in like a poppy kind of thing just to kind of like stimulate a different part of everybody's brain. But even in those moments, like, man, they would get to such a place of real freedom. We're all jumping up and down and yelling and like, um, amazing. And we're all sober. Well, most of us. I'm sure there were people on drugs there, but most of us are sober. And afterwards, we're laying there in a big pile, just cuddling with all these people. Um, so it can be done. There's other modes that we can use, and I wish we would. And I don't think it's something. I think that, of course, spiritual practice, meditation. Yeah, a lot of it is going to be on your own. If you want to do this thing, um, then a lot of it is going to be getting up in the morning and you have your coffee or your tea or whatever, and then you sit there and you close your eyes and you get into it, by yourself. It is deeply personal, but I don't know. Ultimately, I guess I feel like we are doing this life thing together. We're trying to, or we would like to. I just as I said that, like, doing life together, it reminded me of when I was in church, when I was a teenager and in my early 20s. I was super involved in this like evangelical church, and um, of course, they believe a lot of things that I don't believe anymore, and I think that some of those things would like lead to harmful behaviors and attitudes. But like the way that they had community, the way that we had community in that space was really incredible. Um, it was like there was room for fun, laughter and fucking around and all that. But then like it could also go to a place of um, discussing the deepest parts of ourselves and what it meant for us. We were trying to like follow Jesus, and it's hard to follow Jesus. Jesus is I really there's something I still really like about Christianity. But it's like Jesus's version of Christianity, and Jesus's version of Christianity is like this, like self-sacrifice, like becoming this vessel of love. It's not easy. And so we would talk about it, and we would cry together, and we would hurt together, and we had spaces that were set up for that. And I feel like, when I left the church, I found that most of the spaces that I had available to me were places of work, um, or drinking. Like if it wasn't home, then it's a drinking place, or it's a workplace, or it's a store. Um, it's an economic place in one way or another, unless it's a bar. I mean, of course, you're still spending some money at a bar, but I want that. I want for us that we can have what the church people have. Um, and I know if you've been to Open Door, then it just feels like a meditation, like a yoga class almost, except we don't do yoga, we do something else. But it's like pretty much that's the vibe. But I hope that it can grow into something more, and I don't exactly know how to get us there. But I want it to be a vehicle for this other part of life, for this part where we are laughing and crying together, and um, yeah, we shouldn't have to feel like the only way we get to experience that dimension of life is by drinking and doing drugs and stuff. And I mean, not that you're not welcome at Open Door if you do those things. You're very welcome. Like, it's not a specifically sober community. It just so happens that of the places that I reached out to when I was trying to get it started, it was Passenger Recovery, who ended up opening their doors to me, and they've been amazing. Um, and I think that there is a kind of a nice convergence of the sober community and the meditation community. Um, you know, a lot of people come to meditation for similar reasons that people come into the sobriety community. It's like, man, things aren't going well. Man, it hurts. This kind of sucks. Um, and I need to see what's going on. I need to see if there's a different way to do things. And when you start meditating, you become much more aware of your inner state. That's one of the things. If you get a practice and you start doing it daily, you'll notice as time goes on, God, I'm so much more aware of my body and like how I feel. And it can even feel strange. People will say, um, like people are saying that they're fine, and you can tell they're not fine. Um, and you can tell they're in this like dissociative relationship with their bodies, and they maybe they don't even know what they're feeling at a given moment, and you're like, well, I can see what you're feeling, like your body is telling me exactly um, what's going on with you, but I don't think that that kind of thing will start to happen because you're like, oh, I'm just so aware of my inner state, because you're looking at it all the time, like that's the practice. And when that happens, or when you become more aware of your inner state, you realize like, oh God, if I drink like one beer, I can feel it all day the next day. I'm a little bit slower, and like my vibrational energy is different. I don't want to meditate. It's not going to feel good. Um, I don't. It's going to cause something in my body that I like don't want to be aware of. And yeah, and so it just, the meditation tends to lead to sobriety because you're just like, oh God, I guess it's poison. I guess I'm like poisoning myself. Maybe I shouldn't. But not for like, I'm talking about my experience and something I've seen. But there's other people who, they don't go down that path. Um, and like I'm saying, Open Door isn't that. That's not explicitly what we are. It's not. We're not explicitly a sober community. Uh, but I do want us to be a different kind of space, and it's just a longing that I have to be able to be very real and very seen, and also explore this other kind of, we could maybe call it a deeper dimension of life. Or I mean, what is it, the when you're drinking with your friends and the truth starts coming out, and you're like, oh man, I'm not this like tensed up person. I actually have all these thoughts and feelings to share. um yeah, I want us to find out how to get there. um yeah, I don't know. I intended this video to be like a minute long, and I don't know, probably going on 10 minutes or something, so I should wrap it up. But yeah, we meet at Passenger Recovery on Wednesday nights at 7 o'clock. Um, you'd be very welcome there. Yeah. All right. Thanks.